Good day, subscribers. Today is episode 3 of semester 3, CS7646, Machine Learning for Trading, final review. I know it's been a while since my last video, so let's jump right in. In the last video, we did a Q&A session based on a previous comment I had gotten on a different video. In that session, we went through general questions, and then we were going to follow with time management and how to attack the OMSCS program. As always, I'd love to thank my subscribers for joining me as I do these videos. Again, you guys are the reason these videos are coming out, and you guys are the reason these videos are always fun to make. I know it's been a while since my last video, but I'm happy to do this one, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. So, in the OMSCS program, CS7646, Machine Learning for Trading. What is this class about? What's the content of this class? Well, overall, this class kind of has 3 sections, and the class really is divided up into that. There's working with data, so different data manipulation tools using Python. That includes things like NumPy and Pandas, and Matplotlib for making graphs and such. There's also a section on finance, which has to do with all different types of finance. It really is a nice beginner's crash course to different things about stocks, how to evaluate a company, all this kind of stuff, which I found really interesting because stocks is something that I have as just a personal hobby. And then machine learning, which is the 3rd section, and in my opinion they spent a little less time on machine learning than the other 2 sections, but they still went through the different types of machine learning, and you do have 2, technically 3 projects that have to do with machine learning. There's one project in the first half of the semester that you do a decision tree machine learning program, and then there's one in the second half of the semester where you do a Q-learning machine learning program, and then your final project allows you to use either your decision tree or your Q-learner to do the final project with. So that's technically a 3rd machine learning project in the course. So in this course, it's made up of 8 total projects and 2 exams, and then there's 1 extra credit project. The 8 projects are made up of both minor and major project sections. The difference between a minor project and a major project was really just the amount of time that I felt I spent on it to complete it. And as you can see on the weighted grading, the minor projects tend to be lower grade portions than the major projects, as you would expect. Even the major projects, though, weren't hugely time intensive. I felt they were pretty manageable. This class overall I thought was very manageable, a great starter course, which I'll talk about at the end. The 2 exams were very fair. There was one for a midterm and one for a final, non-cumulative, which was really, really nice. And I was able to do well on both of them just by going through the video lectures, taking notes, and then reviewing my notes before I took the test. The exams weren't meant to trick you, which is really nice, and overall the course is just handled very well. So now let's talk a little bit about what each of these projects entails. So I'm just going to be going over the projects that are in the second half of the course because I have another video going through some of the projects in the first half of the course. Project number 5, Marketism. Project number 6, Manual Strategy. And project number 7, Q-Learning. And then there's the final project, which I'll talk about in a second. So project number 5 is based on designing a code that would buy or sell theoretical stocks. So it's an entirely code project. There is no report for this project, but the project has to do with if you were to give your code a set of buy and sell orders, that it would do those buy and sell orders and then follow the stock along with price. This project is possibly one of the most important projects in the entire class, and the reason is you continuously use this project in number 6, in number 7, and then in your final project number 8. So you need to make sure that you focus on this one and get it right, because if you get this project wrong, that same problem will occur in the following projects. With that said, it's not a super difficult project. You just need to make sure that you focus on it and get through it. Project 6 is possibly one of my favorite projects. The manual strategy is based on deciding on a few indicators, and a stock indicator is something that would trigger a buy or a sell order. So let's say a possible indicator might be the price versus a previous price. So you can notice if the price drops down far below a previous price, that's a good opportunity to buy. So you select a couple of these indicators and then write a program that will buy or sell stock interacting with your Marketism code to complete this project, and then you get a manual strategy that either does particularly well over the time periods given or particularly not well over the time periods given. Obviously you want a project that does particularly well. Actually, if we look at the pictures over on the side of this slide, we can see the indicators that I used, which were the price over the SMA. Whenever the price over the SMA is below 1, that's a buy indicator, and when it's above 1, that's a sell indicator. And I also use the Bollinger Bands and the MACD. If those are things that interest you, you can look at them online. There's a bunch of videos that I used just to kind of learn what those were, but those were the indicators that I used in my manual strategy. And finally, Project 7, the Q Learning Robot. So this project, when you first look at it, it really has nothing to do with stocks. The project is based on designing a Q Learning program that will have a theoretical robot navigate a maze field to collect the final points. So let's talk a little bit about what a Q Learning program is. And in this case, let's talk about it in terms of stocks. So a Q Learning program is a program that uses what's called a Q table to navigate a particular project and complete a task with the maximum number of points. Now, when I say points, that has to do with the Q table. The Q table is a table, so a matrix, designed of states and points. And so what happens is you have a state, and the state is made up of all the different factors that the Q Learning program is using to make a decision. So for stocks, it might be something like the stock's current price, the stock's previous price, and in our project, which you'll see in a bit, the state is actually made up of the indicators. So that's what designs the state, and then the program has a reward. And the reward is based off of something coming in from the outside. So in the stocks case, the reward could very simply just be the amount of money the program made or lost based on a trade it had. Project 8, the final project, goes a little bit more in depth about this, so I think I'll move to that and finish up this discussion there. So like I said, Project 8, the final project, is a machine learning program that you're supposed to compare against your manual strategy that you made in Project 6. Your machine learning program can be a modification of either your Project 3, your decision tree project, or your Project 7, your Q Learning program. I decided to go with a modification of the Q Learning program. The reason I decided this one is because the Q Learning program I had a lower understanding of. I really had a decent idea of how a decision tree works and how it's made, but my understanding of Q Learning was a little bit less, so I wanted to get a stronger grasp on it. So I modified my Q Learning program to work with stocks and was able to create a very successful Q Learning program. And if we look at the graph, we can see my baseline, which was just if you bought the stock in the beginning of the year and you let it continue, you ended up with about a return of 1, so really no return. If you did the manual strategy, you ended up with a return of about 1.5 to 2, and using the Q Learning strategy, you ended up with a return above 3.5, which way outblew the manual strategy. Now, one thing to note before I continue on this sampling was done in sample. What in sample means is the same code set that you're using to train your machine learning program is the code set that you're learning to test your machine learning program. So we would expect that our program does abnormally well on in-sample testing as compared to out-of-sample testing. In other words, you can't just let this program loose on the real market and expect it to do anywhere near this well. So lastly, my overall thoughts on the course. Overall opinion, this course is a great course. I'm going to have a lot more in the pros section than the cons section for this part of the video because I really did like this course. So for pros, the information was very, very interesting, particularly if you already find things in finance like stocks interesting. So stocks are just a personal hobby of mine, so this class really built on that, made me a little bit better of a stock trader, and taught me this type of machine learning stuff, which I thought was a great combination. The projects for this class are mostly programming. There's some reports that you have to do, but the reports aren't super extensive. They're mostly write-ups and just explaining what you did in the code. So it's not a massive amount of writing as compared to some other courses. The exams are reasonable and really not meant to trick you, which I thought was a great thing. I find in a lot of courses, the teacher just wants to really see how much you know by giving you a couple of options that are very similar. So it was really great to see that the exams weren't meant to trick you and that the questions were very fair. It is possible to work ahead on this course, so if you plan on going on a trip with your family or something like that, you can get a week ahead or so and then have that week off, which is a really nice addition. And the final project was a lot of fun. It was really great to apply the stuff you would learn in previous projects to a real scenario and see how your machine learning outlook can defeat your manual strategy, which it was just a lot of fun to kind of tinker with that and get a good understanding of that. Now some of the cons, the exams do use ProctorTrack. I've talked about ProctorTrack before, but it just kind of makes everything a little bit more difficult. It's just another program you have to use on your computer, and it kind of watches you while you take the test. I understand the point of it, to make sure that students aren't cheating or collaborating, but I just found it overkill. I mean, if you really wanted to get around it, you could, but it just kind of gets in the way of some stuff. And then for the projects, you have to submit them through a Linux server that uses, for Windows it uses SSH to jump into. For Linux, SSH is already installed. So you just need to get a little bit of Linux understanding. Some of that was a little bit, it just added a little bit of extra time. It wasn't anything to really complain about, but it is something that I wanted to note. And then lastly, one big thing with the exams is the exams are designed to be no notes and no textbook and no Google. So when you're taking the exam, you're just taking the exam. You can't have any notes with you or anything. So when I studied for the exam, as I said, I did really well in the exams. They're not meant to trick you, but you do need to know the material. And so you need to memorize things like formulas. So that kind of brought me back to my undergrad of when you weren't allowed to bring any kind of cheat sheet, which I don't think is exactly the right way to take exams, because in real life you can just Google stuff, but that's the way this class is run. So finally, who should take this course? I think this course is a great course for people who have interest in finance or machine learning. 2, for first-time students. This is a great first course for students to take. And then 3, I think this is a great course to take if you are if you're adding on a course. So if you're taking 2 courses, this is a great second course to take because it's not super labor intensive. You can get ahead on it, and it's just a great manageable course. Great information, great content, not over intrusive, just a good course overall. So last thing to mention before I finish up this video, this class actually did inspire a personal project for me. As I said, I do have some interest in finance already, and learning about this course and machine learning and how to interact with the market, it did cause me to start to create my own program to interact with the real market. So I'm talking about using real money to trade on the real market. Currently, I had to take a break from this program because I started my next course, which I'll be talking about in a different video. But this program was doing well. It was making real trades. I started with $1,100. The reason I chose that number is the program was given $100 to trade with, and $1,000 was used for supplemental cash because I had to have the account on a cash basis to allow myself to do day trading. And the program interacts with Robinhood, the Robinhood stock platform. And the first day it made 18 cents, the second day it made $3, and the third day it lost $10, so it's kind of all over the place at this point. Like I said, I have put a hold on it, but I do plan to get back to it later. It's just an interesting, fun project. It didn't really matter to me how much I made or lost. I was only really playing with $100. So it was just a fun project, but I did create the program to be able to interact with the real market. So if you guys have any questions on that, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to share anything that I learned. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and were able to learn something. If you have any questions or comments, leave a comment in the comment section. Thanks, and subscribe.